Want to call to order the February 4th, 2013 meeting of the Ascension Consolidated Gravity Drainage District Number 1. Would everyone please stand for the invocation by Councilman Lord, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Lord, as we gather here tonight, we just ask a special blessing on National Guard Unit 922, Engineering Battalion, who recently deployed overseas to the Middle East. We ask that you keep them safe, and we ask that you keep all of our soldiers safe, who keep our country safe and help us to enjoy the freedoms that we do. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Councilman Lord. We'll move on to agenda item number 3, the election of officers for the 2013 year, for the chair, vice chair. So right now,
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Randy Cluart to be continuous chairman.
Second.
nomination by Councilman Shake Snyder, second by Councilman Satterley.
Move that the floor be closed.
Second.
We have moved that the floor be closed by Councilman Lohr and second by Councilman Shake Snyder. Any opposition? Any further nominations? Thank y'all very much, fellas. I appreciate working with you guys, and we'll continue moving forward. We'll move on to 3B, nomination of and election of vice chair.
Nominate Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Second.
We have a nomination
don't
by
need a
Councilman
second.
Lohr and second by Councilman Johnson to nominate Councilman Dempsey Lambert for vice chair.
Move the nomination be closed.
We have a motion by Councilman Shake Snyder to close the nominations. Second by Doc Satterley. Any discussion? Nominations are closed.
Mr. Chair.
You are vice chair, sir.
Thank you. I'd just like to thank everyone also.
That's all you got to say?
Very quick tonight. We're running behind.
Yes,
He
indeed.
already got his pumping station.
With that being said, we'll move, I just want to note on agenda item number 4, public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak on an agenda item, please sign in with the secretary, and you'll be given time to speak when that item comes up. We'll move to agenda item number 5. The chair would recognize a motion to accept the minutes
So
of
moved.
January 7th meeting.
Second.
We have a motion, I think Mr. Lambert Todd Lambert, you had your hand up?
I think Doc had it.
But Doc got it, by Doc Satterley, second by Ms. Terry Cazzo. Any discussion? Any opposition? Minutes are accepted. On the chairman's report, I just want to say that we're making real good progress on all the major drainage projects we have. We're trying to push forward, and you'll be hearing in a little while an update on some of the upcoming projects. And the move to put the pumps down on Swamp Road to pump that basin out is working well, I think, because we would be behind the 8 ball a little bit without it. And that's all I got to say. And once more, thank you for your trust in my chairmanship. We'll move to agenda item number 7, drainage report. Mr. Rue.
I'm going to be pretty brief myself. Nothing really has changed since last month, with the exception of because of the rain event. The 2 major projects is back on schedule, or at least back working, progressing on the project. They had to de-water both those projects because of the rain. That has been done. And again, Henderson Bayou, they're forming up for the walls of the structure itself, and they are on the finishing phase of Marvin Bro Pump Station right now. Everything probably is being pushed back a little bit because of the rain delays, but everything would be at Marvin Bro should be done within the next couple of months. And Henderson Bayou is toward the end of the year, probably the first of next year because of all the rain problems. Other than that, we had, like the chairman said, we do have the pumps running at Bluff Swamp, Frog Bayou into Bayou Manchat, it's a good thing that we do have the pump there right now because the elevation in Man Shack and Bluff Swamp is about the same, so basically it would not be draining at all if we wasn't able to pump it out. We're going to continue pumping until Thursday. Actually Friday, we go ahead and shut it down on Friday and start removing the pumps and letting gravity flow take over. We should have a pretty good dry weekend into next week. Again, we're down to a 7.2 elevation, which is getting down to something that we can maintain. If we get down another foot or so by the end of the week, I think we'll be at a safe elevation in case we get another rain event. So that's working good. I have Jake Lambert had a meeting with the Corps of Engineers today about the Law Ridge Levee and about other concerns. I'm going to let him give a little report on where he stands on that project.
Thank you, Jake, and like I said, we got a little update on Law Ridge Levee extension.
Yes,
The
sir.
last meeting with the Corps.
We had a meeting today, pre-permit application meeting today. It was attended by several members of the Pontchartrain Levee District, myself, and a couple of other members of my team that I'm working with. The meeting today was to discuss several issues. Number one is the wetland delineation. We submitted our wetland delineation to the Corps. They're reviewing it right now. Be about a month to 6 weeks, and we expect them to review it and hopefully agree with our delineation or provide us comments back. Then it'll probably be another month or month and a half thereafter that we're gonna actually submit our permit application for the Law Ridge Levee Extension project. The meeting today we discussed the items that they're going to be expecting to see in there. The good thing is that we've been having these meetings since we first started this effort, and so we had a good sense of what they would be looking for. We've kind of tried to be prepared on the front end so that it can hopefully speed the permitting process up. So expect in the next 3 to 4 months an application for the permit. Thereafter, there will probably be a permitting period of, it can be from 6 months to a year, depending on the review process.
Yeah. Real quick, Jake, the question most asked, the two questions most asked by the constituents up and down that area is, you know, one is where exactly is the levee going to be, what's the route, and the second is when is it going to happen? You know that.
So, sure.
So how, I know you've already explained the when it's going to happen possibilities.
Sure.
But the route is, you have a route that you had introduced.
Yes, sir. What we've done
Proposal.
over the last handful of years, we've been doing the modeling and studies. Is obviously a levee will begin at the end of Gold Place Road, which is the termination point for the existing Law Ridge levee, and the concept is to provide backwater flood protection around the lake community and around Lake Martin. Probably will be terminating somewhere around Jim Myers Road or Jim Myers Extension. We're still evaluating the exact point where the levee is going to terminate, stop, and that'll be determined over the next few months. I've been having a lot of discussions with residents. They all have been calling my office. I've met with several
I
of
want
the
to thank you.
residents.
Several of them said you left your card and that
Yes,
you was
sir.
going around and all.
And I've been meeting people for breakfast, for lunch. They come by my office and trying to address their concerns, let them know that this is an open process. We're trying to, you know, incorporate everybody's concerns into how this alignment will affect the residents that live there, and still provide flood protection to the most people that we can in that area. So if y'all are getting any calls, by all means, feel free to refer them to me. Also, we're going to have a meeting here in the near future with some of the residents. We've been talking about it for a couple months. I wanted to have this meeting today to get a little better sense from the Corps as to exactly what their feelings were on the direction we're taking, and it seems like we've got a positive sign today. So trying to keep those lines of communication open.
Thank you. Any questions
Yes.
on Law Ridge Levee Extension? Yes.
Just quickly, and I think, Jake, to let everybody know, one of the reasons why the termination point hadn't been decided exactly yet is because we're trying to reach 15 feet, which is requirement to get certified by the Corps.
That's the intention, yes, sir.
And the reason that's important is that's where the residences actually get their break in the insurance, and then also the possibility of variation in the elevation required. That has happened recently in some other parishes and in New Orleans. So it's very important for us to spend all this money, and if we go 14.6, no one gets the benefits. And so that was one of the reasons why the regular Laurel Ridge was brought up to standards
Yes,
also.
sir. From the beginning, you know, when we were developing the criteria for this proposed levy, obviously we want to, if we're going to build it, we want to do it right. And, you know, we decided we wanted to try to do it to federal guidelines for the levy, so that hopefully one day we can, it'll be a long process, I assure you, but at least we'll have the infrastructure there to, and we'll have it constructed according to their standards, so hopefully one day it could be a recognized levy.
On the Laurel levy, moving forward right away, bring the existing levy up to 100 years flood.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do it without having the other, but are the plans here to bring the entire levy system there to 100 years flood?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's why we haven't started the elevation of the existing Laurel Ridge levee, because we were told by the Corps that if we raise the elevation to that 15, and if we plan on doing the rest of the levee too, which we actually have to do, we need to do all of it to that. We need to permit all of it as one project. So we kind of backed off on it now, and we're going back, and actually most of the dirt, clay that we dredged from the Marvin Bro Pump Station project, we put along the levee so we have access to it, so we can go back and raise that whole levee up from the pump station all the way around to the termination of the existing levee.
I'm not working on the upgrading of the existing levee.
We have
That
it.
is something that has to be pursued. In the near future.
I am.
We've got another avenue for that. Go ahead, Bill.
And that's it. We wanted to go through the permit. We didn't want to get ahead of ourselves and get confused with the Corps, the existing levee with the new levee. So that's why we're kind of waiting for them to understand. Right. Right. And it's a lot easier getting the permit for the other one. The problem with the other one is, one of the main problems is actually Highway 22, the state highway. That's a break there, and the whole issue is and the Corps even asked us that, how are you going to raise that portion up? And so we have to go through a lot of planning and with DOTD and see what can be done there, because if you can't do that, they don't want to permit the whole thing. So that was a big issue, DOTD, and that highway. So.
And that's something I'm sure, Mr. Parish President, you can help us out with. In our past conversations from several years back, is that they actually recognizing the other culverts and stuff that they have right there, and weren't very favorable of building a bridge. And DOTD at the time wasn't favorable about doing anything with it. So we gotta just keep pursuing that. Like I said, I know you can help us on that. Jake, if anybody got anything else, yes. Todd Lambert.
You and I talked, this has been an interest of mine too.
Sure.
I no longer have that district, but has a lot of friends and family live in that area. Why are we hitting Jim Myers Road as the ending of this levee?
Well,
There's still a lot of people a little bit north of that's still going to won't get any benefit from this.
Well, the simple answer that I have for that is two reasons. Number one is that we have to closer towards Highway 431 up there near where Jim Myers hits. 431 is where we have the elevation of the ground that we need to block the floodwaters. The second answer is the original scope of the project was to terminate around in that area. I've gotten a few questions from people that live just north of there, but the majority of the flooding is actually further down towards the lake, actually. So, those people that live a little closer to Highway 431 don't quite see the floodwaters that we see in further down the lake. That's the primary area of our focus.
Y'all do a study that there would be no effect on those people, no worse case?
Well, we know that that's going to be part of the permitting process, and we're prepared to address those in the application. That's going to be a big issue that we have to deal with, just like it was on Henderson Bayou. We had to go through that. Yes, sir. We're prepared to make that argument.
Thank you, Jack.
Sure.
Yeah, and I know Todd, you probably got, you represented that area for a long time. Thank you, man. But you probably got a couple houses that are off of 431 toward the Amite River that might have had problems. Summerfield, we got a problem, is basically the houses are good, but the road, we gotta do, they'll get their road
Well, I
flooded
would
out.
suggest that that's probably, there are some issues up there that's outside of kind of what I'm looking at, but we have had some discussions about some solutions that maybe could be provided up there, replacing a bridge or two, maybe doing a little bit of elevation of the road, but it's kind of outside of this particular focus that we're working on.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, you had something? Anybody else? And also, you wanted to, you talk about Conway?
Yeah, I can give
Panama.
you a brief update. Obviously, over the last few weeks, we had a lot of high water in the parish, major rain events, quite some problematic areas. But we're working with Mr. Bill, looking at implementing the first 2 phases of our proposals, that our recommendations from the study we did on Bayou Conway and the Panama Canal Basin. That's going to incorporate the first 2 phases, which number 1 will be the snagging and clearing of the 2 major channels, Conway and Panama. That will open those channels up and really allow that water to get out of there. Second phase will be to do some maintenance dredging on the lower end of Bayou Conway. We feel like this will kind of give you the second most bang for your buck, if you would, and also should be be careful with this, but a relatively easy permitting because it's an existing channel that we would be doing some maintenance dredging on.
Basically, the silted in areas.
Yes, sir. Correct.
Is that ditch that's coming off the interstate, that connecting ditch, is that still,
That's what we're looking at.
that's still a
Yes, sir.
variable there?
There's a bridge crossing very near I-10 on Airline Highway that crosses under the railroad track and on Airline Highway that we're going to be looking at opening that up and allow some of that water that stacks up by the tracks, on the differential on the tracks to get on out.
We don't have a lot of success in trying to move the railroad tracks or elevate them.
And if you can work with them, you
I know that, been doing it for years.
Sure.
But anyway, anybody else, anybody got any questions for Jake on that project? Thank you very much, Jake, we appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Just
Mr.
one thing, Councilman, that we could be mailing or emailing your individual district reports on activities in your district. We'll be sending that to you tomorrow through the email, and also a little brief synopsis of some of the major projects and where they're standing as per the schedule. We also I'm gonna get with Jake, and we're gonna do, since he's got some information on the timeline on the Law Rich levy and Panama, we're gonna put together a little schedule so you can actually see, visually see where we're at and the possibility of where we should be in the next 6 months, 8 months, year, and so on, to the completion. Okay?
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Rue? Yes, sir. Mr. Shakespeare.
Bill, we continuing any progress on the ring levy in Sorrento? Checking on that? Any progress?
We are looking at the whole basin, and we're going back and pulling data from the big rain event, and seeing where it topped, the elevations. We're getting the data on elevations, so we see how it went around on Brittany Street, where it went, and then trying to get that data together to see what kind of elevations we would need to put the levee along Conway and through there. So yes, we are. We're looking at that data.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Bill. We're going to move along to agenda item number 8, amendment to BKI contract, supplemental services, Marlboro Pump Station expansion project. Mr. Rue.
Yes, sir, we're asking to increase the amount for supplemental services by $85,000. That would increase the total contract to Burt Kleinpeter by, to the amount of $1,405,716. And what this is for inspection service, resident inspection. We pay by the hour as a reimbursement to them for that service. It's estimated in the contract at the beginning of the project, and we're hitting the limit right now, so we want to increase it not to exceed $85,000 so they can finish the project and we have inspection services.
And we have our services increasing, right? Right, Mr. Picard? It's going to be
What?
good?
Why is it
Yes.
increasing? I thought it was, I thought we were running ahead of schedule.
No, well, the amount of time that they spend on a job, I think they worked some overtime, they had some Fridays. Henry, you know any particulars on that?
Predominantly some time extensions based on weather.
Come to the mic, please, Henry. We have Henry Picard with BKI, project manager over there.
Basically, the time of the contract has been extended due to weather and additional items of work added to the project. So this is bringing the inspector's time to match up to the contractor's time.
Okay. Mr. Rue, you good with that?
Yes, sir. We did go back. Again, they send all the time sheets to us for review before we pay any bills, and we go through the time and the time sheets to make sure that the time for the inspection is accurate and justified.
How far behind are we on this project?
We're not behind. We had about a month of delay for weather, but the contractor's
But
pretty much
wouldn't-
on schedule. It was originally supposed to complete around November, but we had some time extension due to the Isaac storm, plus we had some weather delays, and they also ran into some extra work when they were doing the cofferdam. But we anticipate all this to be completed by March.
And Henry, I'm just trying to understand
Sure.
all this.
Sure.
And I'm trying to get a handle on if we had rain days, then why would we be paying for inspection?
The rain days exceeded the amount that was already
Right, and
stipulated in the
that-
contract.
That prolonged the project.
Correct.
But I mean, wouldn't the inspector not be working at that time?
That's correct, but those days weren't counted as far as the inspection. A lot of what happened was the cofferdam, after Isaac flooded, there was some dewatering there was some repairs that they had to do. That's the kind of time where we were on site, but it really didn't add contract. It added contract time to the contractor, and we were there on it, but that was not envisioned in our original contract on resident inspection.
Okay.
One thing, this is in the contract, this is a reimbursable expense, so it's not exactly like
I
a
understand.
hard contract price. It's reimbursable. And when they were out there, I'll give you a friend, when they were out there for dewatering, well, that was time, that extension of time, but the inspector was out there working, but wasn't nothing progressing on the contract itself. So we still got to reimburse them for the inspection services, but it's not actually part of the original scope of work, but he was still out there. And plus, in the first part, like Henry said, in the first part of the contract, they ran into extreme hard problems with things that was actually, through the construction of the first structure, was thrown into there. A large piece of everything, every trash that they did not want to haul off, they threw and buried, which was they didn't know anything about, and that extended the contract time. But if we still paying the resident inspection to be out there, but it's not part of the original scope.
Okay.
And they just added up those
I'm fine with
times.
that. If they had
Okay?
some unforeseen things
Oh,
and
yeah.
it caused it to go over, I just want to make sure the time matches up with the
Mm-hmm.
amount of work done, because it seems like a lot to be added on to for inspection service. Okay, thanks.
And that's not to exceed 85,000. We just put that number.
Yeah,
But
It usually does.
So it could be 10,000.
depends if they finish early.
I'll put my
And we
bet
don't have any
clo-
more time delays.
I'll put my money down closer to 85.
The chair would entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Ms. Terry Cazzo, second by Mr. Brian Melanson. Any discussion, further discussion? Any opposition? Motion carries. We'll move on to agenda item number 10, 2013 contract approval.
Number 9.
I apologize. Number 9, RFQ results for FEMA, East Central Gravity Drainage Muddy Creek Drainage Project, selection of engineering for contract negotiations.
Yes, sir. The selection committee, engineering selection committee, met on January 23rd to select the scored engineering putting in for their RFQs for this project. This is HMGP 1786-005-0003, and it's for the drainage improvements to Muddy Creek. And the top score was Volkert and Associates. And we ask that you authorize us to proceed to contract negotiations.
What are you asking for, sir?
We're asking for the authorization to proceed to contract negotiations with Volkert and Associates. They were a high score on the selection.
Mr. Chairman.
I second it.
We have a motion by Mr. Dempsey Lambert, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Discussion, I would ask that the next time we have this, that we have a sheet in the package.
We don't have a packet, nothing in our.
We don't have anything in
Well-
our package.
Right, but we usually, just present the top score for
Yeah.
for grant, as part of the grant process. We just do the top score for y'all.
Okay,
It's a federal
okay,
grant.
so
Yeah.
it's deadline. All right,
Just the top score.
clear that up. Clear the air for everybody that don't have it in their package. So we'll take your word that Volker was at the top. And
Yeah,
congratulations to
I
them.
email it to you.
Any further discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. Now we'll move along to agenda item number 10, 2013 contract approval, USGS gauges, maintenance and operations. Mr. Rue.
This is an annual contract with USGS. Our share is $33,000. USGS puts up $24,700, and that's for the annual maintenance and upkeep of the gauges. And again, it's an annual contract we've been having for
So move, Mr.
multiple
Chairman.
years.
We have a motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Brian Malonzo. Any discussion? We see this every year, Bill.
Yes, sir.
And so I just want to ask any council member that wants to know anything more about this, please contact Mr. Rue, and I think they'll send you all the details of it. Any opposition? Motion passes. Move to agenda item number 11, drainage servitude encroachment, family petition of lot B1A, estate of Johnny Milligan Sr. Mr. Rue.
Yes, sir. This is for the estate of Johnny Malujan Sr., and what they're trying to do is a family partition. During the survey for the family partition, it was discovered that an existing house, that's been there for years, has the eave of the house that's actually going into the drainage servitude. And it doesn't affect us at all, but they need a letter of no objection to be able to go forward with their family partition, and we're asking that that be allowed. So we're
That's a
asking
rear
for.
servitude, sir?
It's a side servitude.
Side servitude, okay.
Yep, along the drainage ditch.
Okay.
So move,
We have a motion by Mr. Brian Malonson, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any discussion?
Request.
Yes,
Bill,
sir.
if we're going to be getting these, can we get an email with all this information in so we get an opportunity to look at this?
Okay, I
Go
think
take
most
a
of
ride
it's
by.
in the packet that was sent.
Yeah, I know, but just get if we wanted to go ride by the property, kind
Sure.
of get a better view, other than looking at the map,
Okay, sure.
we can get that ahead of time. We can take a ride by there and take a look at what we're doing.
Yeah, I tell you, when I get it from the planning department, the request, I'll send that to y'all as part of that system. But usually I get it a week or two before the meeting, something like that.
All right. No further discussion, any opposition? Motion passes. Move along to agenda item number 12, addition of contract dump truck haulers, Frank Trahan Trucking. That's in my district, and I'd like to add him. Chair would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Benny Johnson, second by Mr. Chris Lord. Any objection? Motion passes. We'll move along to agenda item number 13, amend the minutes of the December 3rd, 2012 Drainage Commission meeting. Item number 9, revocation of servitude request, Gain Marchand property, William Ficklin Road. Mr. Rue.
Yes, sir. This was brought to our attention by the planning department, and they need, in the original motion, we did not have the actual track letters, lots, and we have to add, plus there was a typo, but basically we need to add that to it, so we asking to amend the motion to read, the motion was made by Todd Lambert, seconded by Terry Cazzo, to allow the revocation of a 15-foot drainage servitude on tracks M1A and M1B of the Gain Marshall property.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion by Mr. Benny Johnson, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any further discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move along to agenda item number 14, amendment number 2 to 2009 intergovernmental agreement between East Ascension Parish Government and East Ascension Consolidated Gravity Drainage District Number 1. Mr. Shake Snyder.
Yes.
Mr. Ruiz, you've got a handout for this? Yeah, I think so. Just to let everybody know, Mr. Jackson, do you want to explain? I can explain that there's only one change
Yeah.
in this intergovernmental agreement.
Yes.
And under item number 3, obligation of the parties, there's about three-quarter way down the page, a line that says EACGDD further agrees that it will supplement the salary of the parish president at a rate of $2,000 per month. Is that what
Basically, yes, sir. Basically, what happened is that parish president, his terms of salary is based on the charter, and this body at one time entered into an agreement for management. Historically, the parish president has managed it at no requirement of salary. And at one time, we put the management on another individual and was compensated approximately the same amount. And we wanted to update this. The parish president takes on all full responsibility of the management of this entity, and so therefore we're making a proposal that he gets reimbursed at $2,000 per month. We've already done this in Westside Drainage. Also, this is already.
You're making that in the form of
And
a
I'm
motion,
making that in
Mr.
the form of a
Shakespeare?
motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Shakespeare, a second by Mr. Dempsey Lambert. Discussion.
Yeah, I got them.
Yes, sir. Mr. Brown.
I think this is the same thing that we just went through with the other side. And, I mean, if we're going to enter into agreements that we're going to take on as a parish and manage these things, the job of the parish president is to administer what the parish does, right? I mean, why are we paying a different fee for every little thing that we do? I cannot support that. I don't understand why we continue to do that.
Thank you, sir. I will give you a little bit of history on East Ascension drainage. You know, short time I've been here. Of course, Mr. Lambert and this Mr. Lambert, several others have been here longer. But basically, when you came in, parish president in January of 2008, and at that time, there was an agreement signed prior to that. The parish president had administered everything and worked for drainage, East Central Gravity Drainage District Number 1. And at some point before that, the prior parish president had signed an agreement to not have anything to do with it. Basically, sign all I guess, responsibilities away, or whatever you want to call it. And at that time, in 2008, we had 71,000 or so of capital money came in to our bond, a lot of projects in front of us, and the majority of the council at that time felt like we needed the administration involved in that, just like they had been for years and years and years, okay? So we asked, and it passed this board to give the parish president responsibility of administration over that, all right? And so.
Any other question I have is, why are we seeing this right now, a minute before we're voting on it, and not beforehand? I mean,
I can't explain. I apologize for that. But take all the time you want to look at it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Sadly.
I concur with Councilman Lawson, and I'd like to see that we could at least defer this motion, because I was unprepared. When it was on the other side, as you know, I was against the raises for both legal counsel and the parish president, not against the individuals, but because I believed it was against. And again, because I'm unprepared, I don't have that code in front of me, but I believe it was section 303, like part L or something of the code. And the issue lies around, in my mind, whether or not these extra duties are inside or outside the scope of what the president's duties ordinarily are. And if you say they're inside, then no compensation according to the code is due. If you say they're outside, there's some issue as to whether or not the president can even do those duties, much less be compensated. So I would pray that tonight maybe we could defer this matter, and so we could bring those codes forward and have maybe a little more healthy and vigorous discussion. Else, if we go forward tonight, I can't support this. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Doc. At this time, I can tell you that legal has looked at it, and there's nothing illegal about it. And so, if you on that point, yes, sir, Mr. Shakespeare.
The Ascension Drainage Board is a separate, completely separate and independent entity of Parish Council. It has been, by its inception, the commissioners go to the position as being elected council members. It is no different than Pontchartrain Levy Board or some other board such as that as being independent. Historically, the parish president has acted as the manager. Parish president's salary is controlled only by the charter, which, if this board did not exist, that would be the duties assigned to it by the parish charter, which is running the parish government. This board was instituted after that and as an addition, just like any other independent board. The responsibility goes to, if we're going to get the parish president to take on the responsibility of going through all of these things for drainage on an independent board, then they need to be compensated, in my opinion. We found out, especially in this last thing and the storms and all, the value of having someone with the knowledge of the parish president background to be able to make decisions to assist this parish and this drainage board. I believe it's a very, very good, efficient use of money that we save in the long run. We have an option. We can go out and hire an independent person to manage this. I'm meeting with Wendell Curio that manages Lafourche Parish drainage in Lafourche. I'm meeting with him tomorrow to go look at his pumping stations and things like that. He's one of the top ones in the state. So that's how they manage theirs. We're welcome to do that here. However, it would be much more expensive than putting this task under the parish presidents for a small difference in salary. So I think the parish is doing an efficient use of money, saving money. It's a separate thing from the charter, and I think it's something that's very, very positive. If someone comes along as a manager later on down 5, 10 years from now, or whatever, and they don't have the background or expertise, and this council or next council has a chance to take a look at managing it in a different way. Whoever's on the commission, because it has nothing to do with the council. So that's why we're moving forward.
Mr. Chair.
And am I correct, O'Neill, as legal?
O'Neill's here.
Yes, this is a supplement to the parish president's.
Come to the mic, please. O'Neill Parrington.
I was the attorney when the split took place, when the parish president said, I'm not going to do it anymore. And they hired a manager, and I think they paid him $80,000 or something like that. The charter says the parish presidents only receive the salary of the parish president. The parish council has entered into an agreement with East Ascension Drainage to use the parish president as the day-to-day operator, and you are supplementing his pay for that. And I think it's perfectly within the what's allowed. He's operating as the parish president, running the drainage board for the East Ascension Consolidated Gravity Drainage District, which is the same people except one of the parish council.
Yeah, Mr.
And I
Todd.
agree with you, O'Neill, but just one question. As the charter reads, that the parish president cannot hold another position.
Right. He stays as he's the parish president.
Okay.
And
He's
he only
just
receives
doing this job.
compensation
for
Okay. Running it on a day-to-day basis. I researched that before we did the last.
I was under the understanding too that it was 1,000 a month, not 2,000. I had a conversation today, that's why.
It was 1,000 for West Side.
Any other discussion? I think prior to this, I did actually send to every member of the board here some of the salaries of some of the officials in the parish here, plus salaries of the officials in the surrounding parishes based on population. I can tell you this, one thing I can do is, no matter who's in the position right now as parish president, I can tell you what this parish president has done, and, this is old news. I mean, I've seen him in meetings save this board millions of dollars in a half an hour review. We walked in doors that weren't successful at walking in past administrations, all right, under this parish president. We've got things moving around and moving along, okay? And I think everybody else was working hard at it. But if you think it's a performance basis, I can assure you that this parish president that's sitting right now, and this can be, if it goes now, and several years down the road, this board wants to take it away, that's well within their right, because it's an intergovernmental agreement. And the last thing I want to say is that each member that's sitting up here is supplemented with a different supplement for this meeting and to this board and this entity tonight, not coming out of the general fund of the parish tax base. Okay? Yes, sir, Mr. Lambert.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there, Randy. Being fourth term on this board up here, we get $65 a meeting for this, to handle drainage. And probably all of y'all, since y'all took office, noticed that most of your calls you're going to get in here is drainage. Drainage is probably our most problem child that we have out there. So the $65 we earn is well worth it. And I know parish
Pay for your hip
president's
boots, huh,
getting
Todd?
his- Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert. Any further discussion? Any opposition?
Yeah.
Madam Secretary, give us a roll call vote here, please.
Okay. Mr. Scheck-Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Sadley?
No.
Mr. Dempsey Lambert?
Yes.
Mr. Chris Lower?
Yes.
Mrs. Terry Cazzo?
Yes.
Mr. Todd Lambert?
Yes.
Mr. Brian Malonson?
No.
Mr. Benny Johnson?
Yes.
Okay, motion passed.
The yeas have it. It passed. Does anybody else have anything before we move to agenda item number 15?
I
Vice President.
just want to thank you, and of course, you know, it is tough when they have a flood and when they have other weather events to go out and do these things and go to all extra meetings and stuff, but I appreciate it. Been doing it for 10 years now, and you know, it's probably tougher than being parish president to manage the Ascension drainage. I will just tell you that, with all the things that come up and different things. So I appreciate it, and I won't let you down, I can assure you. And you know, we'll give you your dollar's worth. And
With-
thank you.
With all that due, sir, you know that when we asked you to handle the administration and responsibilities of this area, is that we held you accountable for it, and so far you have been. We appreciate it. The chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned,
We have a
Mr.
motion by
Chairman.
Mr. Todd Lambert to adjourn, a second by Mr. Benny Johnson. Any objections? Any discussion? We are adjourned.